Welcome to another episode of the Clay News and Views podcast. Today, we are talking about something a little bit different. It is a topic that I have seen all over social media, and we're going to give a little bit of insight into an issue that is happening with some development in the Fleming Island area, specifically on Old Hard Road. And to talk to us about that today, we have John Stangle. John is a Fleming Island resident who is very aware, very knowledgeable about the proposed development on Old Hard Road, and he's here today to help us understand it. So, John, first of all, thanks for being on the show. It's much
Well, thank you. I
appreciated.
appreciate it. It's nice to do this.
All right, so tell us, very briefly, who are you, and what's happening on Old Hard Road?
Um, I'm a resident in Fleming Island. I'm a homeowner, and I'd say a block and a half away from the property that's being discussed. My home is off of County Road 220. Most know that, and the Old Hard Road is that right turn you have to make to go kind of out towards the hospital south. And as you make that right turn, there's a big piece of land there that's been combined for about 64 acres. And I live about a block and a half from there. So that's kind of how I stumbled across what was going on. Plus, being a resident, you've heard things over the years, and all of a sudden the project kind of popped up.
And so, take people at a high level? What is the project? Like, what is? It's a proposed development on that land that you just talked about. What is it, and why, in your eyes, is it a problem?
Well, I think it kind of stumbles back to what was it and where has it developed now. So, if we kind of step back a little bit and look at the Old Hard Road, this property was originally owned by the Partridge family that owns the Partridge Well company here in Clay County, very well known, been here for years. And it was owned by the father of that company, or he was the owner of it. And unfortunately, there was an accident on the property. I heard, with his tractor, and he passed on. Very sad for the whole community. He was a well-known figure. So after all of his estate was settled, it's my understanding that at least two of the daughters inherited the property. And so those are the two people that are, well, when we say the Partridge property, who we're dealing with now and who you're hearing about in the post. So what really happened, I think, is the father didn't want the property developed, and he actually combined some of the parcels so that that would not happen. And the daughters admitted that was not his goal. However, their goal is they want to make some money on their inheritance. And, I can't blame them. That seems fair and reasonable. The property is zoned AG, or it's a agricultural zoning. And it used to be a farm years back. I'm learning lots about but it basically was a farm. They had some cattle on the land, probably some vegetables and things like that. I heard from one of the senators that there may have even been a fruit stand out in the street at one time. And over the years, things changed, and all of that visual things that were mentioned, I haven't really seen it. I know I heard a long time ago some kids were messing around the property and going in and bugging the owners. And I guess that went away, but it made the owners pretty upset. And that's kind of one of the things that I think has helped fuel what's going on. They want to build, or they wanted to build a large project. And this was through the county board of commissioners and the planning department and all the right channels. And as they progressed through, and it finally got up the board of county commissioners, with all the results, the county commissioners decided to deny the application. And it was an application they call a PUD application, to change from agricultural to a PUD, urban development.
And what
So
was the not to interrupt you, but what was the plan there? Was it for like apartments or single family homes? Was it condos? Like
it
what was
was,
the?
I don't remember now because there's
Okay,
been
no
so
worries.
many different versions, but it was less obtrusive. It was, I think, 156 units kind of stacked next to each other, not as big as the 365. So I'm kind of recalling. So it was, but the problem is that was more than double what the property was zoned for. And that
Right.
was our big problem. And I think that's the community's problem. We saw that and we said, wait a minute, that's a lot of things going in on there for something that nobody ever expected and it wasn't zoned for. So, excuse me, through all that, though, county commissioners said, that's not going to work for us. The builder didn't like that. So they filed whatever they filed against the county. And the county was assigned to mediate this with a court magistrate. And that magistrate was assigned and held a hearing at the Board of County Commissioners' offices. And it was an open hearing. We were able to give public input. He questioned a lot about the agricultural and if people had gardens in their yard that were up and down the streets. And it was kind of interesting because he was trying to make the determination here.
So the magistrate was asking about gardens and how people in the area use the land, I think.
Exactly, exactly, and that was interesting because he was asking a lot of questions, but we don't know what that was about. But I think the overall expectations, he's trying to decide, is this agricultural or is it something else? And that helps support us. It's an agricultural, it's not a PUD. So he came back and said there were some things that we could have done better from the county's end, and asked us to go back in front of the county council again and have them re-review all the facts and bring out some more information publicly. The county board of commissioners did that, and they took a second vote, and it was 5-0 denying the application a second time. Now, that was 156 years. We thought that basically it went away and they were going to hopefully go back to the zoning that existed there and step down their plan and maybe propose something in that direction, but that didn't happen.
How long ago was it that the second vote to deny it happened?
I want to say that was the middle of last year or
Oh, okay, so
towards the
recently.
beginning of last year. Yeah, this thing kind of went away for a little while. I posted on our Facebook page that, hey, congratulations. It sounds like we were able to keep the zoning and we'll go from there. However, through the scuttlebutt, I kind of recall that the owners had alluded, if we block them and don't let them do this, they're going to just throw something really big up there. Didn't know what that meant because we just got tonight twice and think we're all doing things right. Well, come to find out, last year there was a new act passed called the Live Local Act. Interesting because the Live Local Act basically was for people more in South Florida where they have a real need for affordable housing and there's a lot of jobs and not enough places for people to live. So by going through all the permitting process, it was taking forever to get permitting to build these houses. And so it was really meant for more the South Florida, but the goal is to take these commercial properties, these vacant areas that were already in a developed, ready to go area that would take a long time to get permitting and authorize builders to go in there and convert it so they could quickly build these homes where all the plumbing and facilities were already there, the space was there, and the access and all that. That was a good thing. However, this act started to be interpreted. It was interpreted several different times. The senators made different addendums or different bills to clarify different things about it. And we're now down to a point where there's another bill, Senate Bill. Okay, so the Senate Bill 962 is going to hopefully help fix more of the clarifications. And one of those clarifications is the intent from this bill, the original bill, the Live Local, was not to include farms or farm or agricultural areas. That wasn't the intent. It was commercial, industrial, big places that aren't being used that can be quickly developed and not be held up from permitting. However, the builders are always looking for a way to try to infer something else and interpret something else. And that's exactly where we're at now is we now have a new application for development on that property. It's no longer 156 units, it's over 350 units. It's 3 stories instead of 1 or 2 stories. And it's almost unbelievable that they would want to push such a big project onto the community. They can do this, though, through that Live Local Act, bypassing all of the government county requirements for a normal permitting process. And that's really what they found the loophole. They can go in and submit this to the Planning and Development Committee. If it meets all the needs and everything, the Planning and Development Committee have to say, yes, it met all the needs of the application, or they have to say no. They're not elected, whoever these decision makers are on those boards. So they can't interpret anything. It's either got to be the box is checked or the box isn't checked. And that's going to be real key coming up is how they respond to the application when it comes to the February 12th meeting in Green Cove. Are they going to respond that the application passes and then go forward? Now, if that happens, it doesn't really go through planning and environmental and all those different things. It bypasses. That's the meaning of the act. The Live Live Act is to bypass all those things that take the time and all the efforts to explain and dive deep into. And it goes like right out to building permits. You got to, of course, make engineering and all that, but it's pretty much ready to, not much you can do. So that's what we don't want to have happen. And we don't think it's right. We think the intent from our senators that made the bill was not the way they are interpreting it. So it's good that we had Senator Bradley comment on that for us. So there we are. We're denied twice, and now we're a whole different project through a loophole that's supposed to bypass most of the county structures that we have to help prevent things like this, or at least review them properly. And we want to stop it there. So let's say, as another option, though, if the county decides to not approve that application, there's another option. The builder could probably litigate. And that's usually what they do. They got the money, they want to push it through. So if that was to happen, then we've got to bring this back up to the Board of County Commissioners. And now we get the opportunity to at least have the county commissioners involved, where we didn't through the Live Live Local Act. And but the only reason they're involved is because it's going to cost the county money to defend whatever the lawsuit is.
Right.
And we've already experienced that with the magistrate hearing and the other things with the first round. And now maybe there's going to be a second round. It may be expensive, but there's a lot of things going on here. First of all, there's no completed litigation about the Live Local Act. That's there's people that have litigated, but it's all in a stall to try to come up with how it should be interpreted and this and that, right down to the same things we are. If we were to decide this and went to court and we were to win, I mean, it would be case law. So I think we have real good ground to stand. I think we have backup from the senators. I think the area that's involved in the structure and the old hard road and the old pipes, it's just not where you build something like that, and it's not fair. And I think that's boils. It's fair and reasonable, and it's not, and they know it. And Clay County just needs to stop them.
Yeah, so 300 and however many 365 units sounds like that 3 stories tall. So that's an apartment complex, is what it sounds like.
Well, it is, but there's also some smaller units too. So some of them are, it's got to do with affordable housing and rent control. The property would have to be managed, the units would be rented. There are some larger single family dwelling areas that, bigger buildings, but they're not separate like a house. It's a whole complex that would be managed as a low income, affordable housing area for rent.
Okay.
And that has to be part of their final agreement. They have to say how much the rent is and all that. So we don't know yet because it's still in the basics.
Right. Who's the builder? Is it a particular?
Miranda Homes,
Okay.
Maronda, Miranda. Miranda Homes has a lot of history with problems with their building. And one of the unique things about Miranda, they don't do apartment complexes. They do single family homes, neighborhoods, subdivisions. So I don't know why they're tackling apartments all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's odd. Okay. And I guess so one of the questions that people are going to ask is, obviously there's a lot of folks who are supporting you. You're sort of the one who's raised the banner and has sort of led the fight against the development. Is it that you don't want any development there, or you want them to develop based on the way that it's zoned currently?
We want it developed the way that it's zoned, and or would be changed the right way through the county if needed. It needs to be built on, I mean, it's their property. We don't want them to not be able to develop their property. If it's my property, I don't want that opportunity. But I know when it was mine that it was AG, and that's where I had to move forward. If they could move that direction, 64 plus acres out there, they could build some really nice $1 million properties, but that's not what they want to do. They probably had been offered some amount of money in the past, from what I understand, and turned it down for that property, went with the people with the bigger dollars. The bigger dollars failed a couple of times. So there's a lot of pressure now for that developer to get this bigger, more lucrative project going, and to do it right away through that loophole.
So, I looked at a map before we hopped on to have the conversation. It looks like there's a subdivision on one side of it on Old Hard Road, like fairly close to where this property is. Do you think it would be more palatable if they were coming with a proposal that had the same sort of density for the neighborhoods that were already there? Like even if it required a zoning change, if they changed the zoning, but the zoning was similar to what was right next to it, would that be, something that was less obtrusive or less
I don't think
intrusive?
changing the zoning is I don't think that's the right thing to do. The community doesn't think it's the right thing to do. It could go into a different project and be proposed as something and maybe be eligible to do that. So far, the two projects have not met those needs. And there's no need to change the zoning. The zoning's worked, it's been fine. Others have built around there with that. A lot of those properties out there are still zoned that way if you look at the green colors on the map. Yeah, we don't want the zoning change. We want them to build the way the zoning is, the way that when we bought our properties, all the zoning was, and with all everybody's expectations, instead of having to look up as we're driving down the road at this 3-story structure all the way down 64 acres.
So, all
So,
right. So, if people are hearing this message and they feel as passionate as you do, and they want to help you get the word out and help you sort of push back against what sounds like overdevelopment, possibly. How can they help you? How can people participate? How can they jump in? How can they be part of what you're doing?
well, I think several different ways. We've got the Facebook page, which is Save Old Hard Road. We also have the petition that they can sign at change.org, and you can just search Save Old Hard Road. It should come up. Both of those things are great tools. We have a meeting, which is the Planning and Development Committee, to see if they're going to say yes to the application or not. And that is a public meeting. And I have been told that we can speak. We can pack that room and show them, what's going on. We have a lot of people that are interested in doing that, and we need more. This is something you need to be loud about. Everybody in Clay County complains about the developments and the roads and everything. Well, here we got an opportunity that's happening right in front of us. We see a developer that's sneaking in through a possible loophole, and everybody's saying, "Hey, we don't like this." So we need to get those couple of people extra this time to get out there and say, "Hey, this is how we feel."
Okay, great. Yeah, listen, what's you said February 12th is the meeting date, and it is is it in the Board of County Commissioners, like the chamber, what do they call the meeting room or
It
what?
is. It's the Board of County Commissioners office, the third floor. I believe it's the administration building in Green Cove Springs, right off of Highway 17.
All right, what
And that
timing is
starts
that?
at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Okay.
And you can find more information about that on the website. They have all that agenda information on the county website too.
All right. Well, John, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? It's been a great conversation, very enlightening. Helps. I had heard at a high level all the things. Now the way people are feeling about it makes more sense now that you filled me in on all the nuts and bolts of it. So, anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
Became such a complicated thing for something that seemed so non-complicated. We thought it was put to bed and fair and reasonable would come, and it didn't. And we just want to protect the rights of everybody around there, including ourselves. Let them build the way that that property is the way it is, and move forward, and hope that all of us can get along and be happy and watch Clay slow down their
Yep.
growth.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate your time. Best of luck. And if you're listening to this February 12th at the county building in Green Cove on the third floor, come out, support John, and you shake his hand and come meet him. So he'll be there.
I might even have a tie on.
Yeah, you never know. All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Josh. Have a good day.
You too.